they could doubt my love. Yet today my love has flown away. I am without my love. Now laughing friends deride, tears I cannot hide. So I smile and say, when a lovely flame dies, smoke gets in your eyes. So I chaff them and I gaily laughed to think they could doubt my love. And yet today my love has flown away, and I'm without my love. Now laughing friends deride, tears I cannot hide. So I smile and say, when a lovely flame dies, smoke gets in your eyes. They ask me how I knew my true love was true. I, of course, replied, something here inside cannot be denied. They said someday you'll find all who love are blind. When your heart's on fire, you must realize smoke gets in your eyes. So I chaff them and I gaily laugh to think they could doubt my love. Yet today my love has flown away. I am without my love. Now laughing friends deride, tears I cannot hide. So I smile and say, when a lovely flame dies, smoke gets in your eyes. So I chaff them and I gaily laughed to think they could doubt my love. And yet today my love has flown away, and I'm without my love. Now laughing friends deride, tears I cannot hide. So I smile
and flows of angel hair, and ice cream castles in the air, and feather canyons everywhere. Looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and they snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's cloud illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds. At all. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way that you feel as every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way, but now it's just another show, and you leave them laughing when you go. And if you can, don't let them know. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's love's illusions that I recall. I really don't know love. I really don't know love at all. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds. I've looked at life that way. Oh, but now, old friends, they're acting strange, and they shake their heads and they tell me that I've changed. Well, something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all. It's life's illusions that I recall. I really don't know life. I really don't know life at all.
beautiful and reflective song to commence our ceremony this morning. A person lives for as long as we carry them inside us, for as long as we carry their stories and their dreams, for as long as we ourselves live, holding memories in common, a person lives. And these are beautiful words by Pablo Neruda, and they remind us of the connection and the bond that we have with each other. No matter how our lives unfold, the spirit of those we love continues in us, and that will never change. And so today we gather, sadly, to say our farewells to Suk Ming Li, your mother, your sister, your grandmother, your family member, and your dear friend. We gather as an intimate group of family in these interesting and challenging of times to say our farewells, and we warmly welcome those of you who are joining us in the virtual world, a medium that we are becoming increasingly familiar and comfortable with. We know how much you would have liked to have been with us today, but we want you to know that though you're not with us physically, rest assured you're with us in spirit. So please feel our love and support, as indeed you feel ours. We feel yours. We warmly welcome those of you particularly who are coming in from all corners of the globe. We are certainly a global community, aren't we? Thank you for being here at this uncertain time. We will keep safe. We will reach out to each other emotionally rather than physically, and together we will honour Suk Ming's memory and reflect on the contribution that she's made to your lives. Because the importance of coming together for these rites of passage can't be overestimated. We give support to each other in all facets of our lives, the highs and the lows. But to honour someone in this, their final chapter, is so loving and so respectful despite the heartbreak and the finality that it symbolises. And while we've all have our own approaches to life and to death, these are the opportunities we use to pause our lives, to give thanks and to reach out and support each other. Suk Ming has lived a full and productive life in her 67 years, and she's been a strong and determined woman, pragmatic and humble. She had a curious spirit, always interested in what was going on around her, and her boys told me that she was an eater. She loved food. Right, in amongst all of that, she rose to meet many challenges over her lifetime. She was enormously resilient and had a strong sense of values and principles which guided her throughout her life. Generous, caring and self-sacrificing, she always put others ahead of herself, particularly her much-loved family. Moving from Hong Kong to provide a better life for her boys, she forged a new life, a new career, and provided great opportunities for her family. She was so proud of you all, and she was so committed to you and you to her. Throughout her illness, you have been ever present, so much so that when lockdown was imminent, Chong moved from Brisbane with his mum so they could be with Lung and his family and support their mother through her final stages. No higher act of love, care and support can be offered to those we love. And so amongst the sadness and the grief today, there's also gratefulness, thankfulness, and a desire to celebrate a much-loved woman and to reflect on what she means to each and every one of you. I'd like to read from Khalil Gibran. For what is it to die, but to stand naked in the sun and melt into the sun? What is it to cease breathing, but to be free and from the restless tides, that it may rise and expand and seek God unencumbered? Only when you drink from the river of silence shall you indeed sing. And when you've reached the mountaintop, then you begin to climb. And when the earth shall claim your limbs, then shall you truly dance. Suk Ming loved music. She had an eclectic taste in her musical choices. And whilst we listened to the beautiful song Can't Help Falling in Love, which was one of her favourites, I'd like to invite all of you present today to step forward and light incense in her honour. Thank you.
So take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you. For I can't help falling in love with you.
So over the next few moments, we're going to share some of the events and milestones, some of the many stories and memories that have made Suk Ming the woman she was. And so to tell stories, we're going to call upon her family. And first, we're going to hear about her early years, presented by Cindy and Vivian. And then we'll hear from Lung as a mother and a grandmother. And finally, we'll hear from Cheong, who will talk about these final times of Suk Ming's life. Thanks all.
Hi everyone, I'm Vivian and I'm Rebecca's niece. I'm going to read out an eulogy written by Rebecca's younger sister Hazel, who lived in Great Britain. She cannot be with us today due to travel restrictions. First of all, thank you for coming to honor my sister today. I know she would be grateful. Rebecca was born in January 1953 in Kowloon, Hong Kong. She had 3 sisters and 4 brothers. She was the brightest of us all. She attended St. Francis of Assisi Primary School for 5 years and was top of the class in each year. She passed the secondary school entry exam with all first grades and therefore received 5 years completely free secondary school education from Hong Kong government. We were very proud of her achievement. She later attended Mary Nor Father School, where she finished her secondary education. She then worked in Immigration Department of Hong Kong for a few years in order to save up money to travel to UK to study for a law degree and barrister's bar exams. Our family members were in no position to support her overseas education. While studying at university, she worked in restaurants as a waitress or even washing dishes. She met her husband, On Chin An, while studying in UK, and they later married in Malaysia. They had 3 beautiful sons. On returning to Hong Kong, She worked as a barrister until 1999, when she immigrated to Australia, where she remained until her sad death. Regrettably, she had a pretty hard life, much more than her fair share of suffering, with the sudden passing of her husband in Hong Kong and some years later, her youngest son in Brisbane. But she managed to pull through these terrible traumas and become a stronger person. Rebecca loved Chinese food, especially roast pork, roast duck, wonton noodle, crab, lobsters, etc., etc. But with her husband being a Muslim, pork was strictly forbidden. I remember she sometimes sneaked some roast pork into the house to share with her sons. She then had to spray the house with fragrance to get rid of the smell of roast pork before husband returned. Her sons were the love of her life. I remember she showed us photographs of her sons giving her massage. We were very envious. She always made herself presentable and liked her high-heel sandals. Sometimes she managed this on holidays too. I always wondered how she managed it, but somehow she did. She was a fun-loving person, loved traveling to see the world. She also loved karaoke, and often we could not get the mic off her at a party. She has some amazing friends, including old schoolmates, friends from Hong Kong Scouts Association, in which she was once a legal advisor, and colleagues in her legal career in Hong Kong. She met Carl a few years ago, and they had some wonderful times together. Carl really took good care of her, and we sincerely thank him for that. Whenever I think of my dear sister and how things used to be, I wish so much that I could turn time back and relive those memories. The special times we shared and the good times we had are truly unforgettable. Rebecca, without you, nothing is quite the same. You occupied a very special place in our hearts and left memories that could never be erased. Death may have taken you out of our sight, but nothing can take you out of our hearts. As I remember you with lots of love, I'll treasure my memories of you forevermore.
各位親友早晨，我係淑明嘅家姐叫 Cindy， 我哋有8兄弟姊妹嘅，但因為佢哋都嚟唔到澳洲，所以咧由我嚟代表向淑明講出我哋嘅心聲。親愛嘅淑明，我哋有幸成為弟兄姊妹，係上天嘅安排，係好值得感恩。我哋8兄弟姊妹之中，你係最聰明、最叻。你自小讀書就好，成績好好。時時都得到老師同爸爸嘅讚賞。喺小學嘅時候， 你仲得到政府頒發嘅5年免費中學教育助學金。當時一家人都以你為榮。記得細個時候，我哋一齊返學，一齊跳繩、踢毽、吹口琴、打乒乓波，亦都有去到荔枝角海灘嗰處執蜆，拎返屋企炒嚟食，好好味。喺小時候，你游水已經好叻㗎啦，可以游出浮台，真係令到我哋好羨慕。我哋童年嘅日子雖然好窮，但我哋覺得好快樂。間屋好細，但我哋活得好親民、好熱鬧。嗰段日子真係好值得懷念。轉眼間我哋都長大啦，你成為一位大律師，亦都有九龍地童軍總會嘅法律顧問。你對社會有貢獻，令我哋李家增光不少。你婚後事業家庭兩兼顧，實在係唔容易嘅，但你都應付得嚟。喺我哋嘅心目中，你係一位既堅強又能幹嘅好媽媽。無論環境有幾咁艱辛，你都能夠勇敢去面對，從來唔會怨天尤人。你將啲仔養大成才，係你最值得驕傲嘅成就。你有正義感，會不平則鳴，又樂於助人。你細個嗰陣已經幫細佬妹溫習功課，退休咗陣你就做義工去派飯俾獨居長者，又幫華人團體處理佢哋嘅文件。就係你患到重病嘅時候，都唔會忘記要捐錢去國內資助山區嘅兒童上學。你仲話，如果你病好嘅，就希望能夠去國內去探望佢哋。淑明，你嘅善行會被主耶穌所銘記，亦成為好多人嘅好榜樣。今日你兩個仔都有好好嘅事業，有一位賢惠嘅媳婦，亦都有一位活潑可愛嘅孫兒。呢個上天俾你嘅禮物，我哋更要為你感恩嘅係，你信咗主耶穌，成為上帝嘅女兒，得享永生呢份禮物。你已經止息咗喺地上面嘅勞苦，投喺主嘅懷裏，享受永遠嘅福樂，再冇疾病疼痛可以困擾你。為此，我哋要為你感謝神。淑明，你可以放心，上帝一定會眷顧你嘅兒子孫兒，讓佢哋平安、幸福、健康。我相信我哋一家人將來喺天堂係會再相聚嘅，一班永遠懷念你嘅兄弟姊妹。
On behalf of my brother, I would like to express our deep gratitude to you, our family and friends from far and wide, who have reached out to us so lovingly with support and strength during these hard times. I would also like to specifically thank the following people who've been at my mother's and our sides over the past year to help lift us above the fear, the anxiety, the tiredness that has been so prevalent, to keep our focus on what is most important. The gratitude and the love that has made every day my mother was alive worth living and fighting for. Carl, we are grateful to you for the love and companionship you gave our mother. It is something that she had long missed after our father passed. We're also grateful to you and your incredible children, who with your collective medical experience provided Cheong and I much needed honest and compassionate guidance to navigate my mother's overwhelming and distressing diagnosis. To my sister-in-law, Candy Johnson, who in her wisdom and persuasive way encouraged us to move Mum and Cheong down to Melbourne for her last few weeks. If we hadn't acted on your advice, we may never have been reunited, and for this we are eternally grateful. To my Auntie Cindy and cousins Vivian and Ashley and their husbands Wilson and Chunhui, you visited us and our mother almost every day while in Melbourne. You spent countless hours at my mother's side, comforting her and praying for her, and you nurtured Cheong, Krista, and I with your food and your compassion. To my wife, Krista, who has made tremendous sacrifices deferring her own study and career plans to care for Cheong and me so that we could focus on caring for our mother. You've been with us every step of the journey, and you have opened your heart and soul to shoulder the many tears that Cheong and I have shed. Most of all, I'm grateful to my brother, Cheong. For being at my mother's side when many of us could not. In truth, you have bared more of her burden than anyone else. While her treatments ultimately could not save her, you were the lifeboat that offered her shelter and hope. And you were there to console her as she confronted each wave after wave of setbacks. You're more selfless and courageous than you probably realize. I thank you all. Cancer, though a terrible disease, did offer us time to reflect on our mother's importance to us, and more importantly, to tell her what she meant to us while she was still here. For most of us, such thoughts and conversations are often left unthought and unspoken in the good times, despite the power they have to bring us together and closer. Unlike our late father and brother, who were taken away from us so suddenly, we were given the opportunity this time to reflect and say goodbye to our mother. I would like to share with you these reflections and the lessons that I've learned from her. As my Auntie Cindy and cousin Vivian described, my mother's life has not been an easy one. When we migrated to Australia without our father, my mother not only had to give up her successful career as a barrister, but raised the three of us on her own. She had to take on both the role of matriarch and patriarch while ensuring we receive the best quality of life and education that she and my father worked so hard to afford. The weight of these responsibilities beared down even harder on her when my father passed away, and she found herself having to also provide for us as the sole breadwinner. She did so without ever showing her vulnerability, and she gave us strength through such uncertain times. Less than a decade later, my mother and us faced the most tragic loss of all, when our youngest brother passed away at the young age of 20. Now that I'm a parent myself, I've come to appreciate how hard this must have been for my mother. There would have been no greater pain than burying her own child. Yet somehow, not only did she overcome this grief, but allowed herself to feel joy and find hope again in life. Over the next 8 years, a new door opened to brighter days. She became a grandmother when my son Dylan was born, a role which was further strengthened when my daughter was born, Zadie, 3 years later. It was clear they shone a light into her heart the moment she held them. They brought change and growth in her as they did to me and my wife, Krista, and Chung as an uncle. She was incredibly close to her grandkids. Indeed, on the day we returned from the cancer hospital to my home in Melbourne, she had declined significantly and was confused and agitated. However, the familiar sounds of Dylan and Zadie's voices and their presence brought her tremendous comfort and a smile we had not seen in days. Then a few years ago, she met Carl, who brought her the companionship she yearned. I recall how giddy with joy and excitement she felt at being doted on by such an intelligent and charming and caring man. On reflecting on my mother and the life we had together, I've come to appreciate that the most important lessons she taught me were not through her words, but through her actions, and how she approached each of life's challenges and blessings. She taught me the importance of being resilient, to believe in my own abilities, and find courage and perseverance to move forward, even when it seems life has cornered you. She taught me acceptance, that some battles cannot be won, including fighting for your own life, and in accepting your own mortality and weakness, to be humble and to fully appreciate what you do have. And finally, she taught me love, that in the finite time and space we occupy in this world, it is important to give more than you take. If giving yourself selflessly is a measure of love, then my mother loved the world and us all dearly. Thank you.
Good morning to everyone here and all of those who are tuning in online. My brother, my auntie, and my cousin Vivian have spoken beautifully about my mom as a sister, as a mother, and as a grandmother. I would like to talk about my mother as the loving individual she was and the close bond we had, especially in the last year when our lives were inseparable in my role as her carer. Although we had our fair share of squabbles, my mom and I had a very loving, affectionate relationship. We confided in each other about everything, and she was such a pillar of strength for me and my brothers. I appreciated my mother not only as a mother, but as my best friend. She was such a curious person. She loved to talk about all kinds of fascinating topics, everything from philosophy to science, religion, music, and the mysteries of the universe. She was also my greatest travel companion. We've been on some of the most amazing adventures, like the time we stumbled through the mist and accidentally chanced upon a colony of seals when we were in New Zealand. There were so many spontaneous, magical moments like that, not only while we were on holiday, but just in general in life. Most importantly to me, my mom was like a real-life Wonder Woman, fighting for justice for everyone. She dedicated so much time and sacrificed so much of herself in her goal to help others. In her illustrious career as a barrister, she put criminals behind bars, gave vulnerable people a fair chance, and brought peace and justice to countless families. Even as a retiree, she devoted so much of her time working for nonprofit organizations, raising funds for charities and doing endless volunteering work. She never asked for anything in return, never asked for recognition, payment, or even a thank you. My mom's diagnosis with pancreatic cancer was devastating and seemed so unfair that something so horrible should happen to someone as kind-hearted as my mother. Being her care in Brisbane disrupted my life beyond measure, but as difficult as it was, I feel grateful that I could go through this cancer battle with my mother, because all of the hard work was absolutely worth it. My mum labored and sacrificed so much to raise me and my brothers. Both me and Long felt very honored. It was truly a privilege that we were able to return the favor and take care of our mum. It was incredibly difficult for long while me and my mum were in Brisbane because I know all he wanted to do was to take care of both of us, like the great older brother that he is. Thankfully, we were able to be reunited in Melbourne, and being able to take care of our mother together turned out to be such a great blessing. Throughout this past year, my mum and I would watch a TV show from the 90s that was all about miracles. We were so hopeful watching this show, and we truly believed perhaps a miracle would happen for her. My mum fought every day with such optimism and with such bravery, even I felt truly convinced we could turn the tide in this battle. And even to the very end, to the very last few weeks of this brutal conflict, she told me she still believed a miracle could happen. We both prayed so hard for one, and although tragically one did not happen, upon reflection, I still believe a miracle did occur. For me, the true miracle was that in this life, I was given the gift of having her as my mother. It was a miracle that I got to be her son, that in fact, the greatest miracle in my life was that she and I got to share a life together, so full of joy and with so many precious, loving memories. In the chats I had with my mother about the things she had achieved and the impact she had on others in the world, she had always felt she hadn't done enough, that there was always more to do in her committed effort to help people. My mother was so humble and self-sacrificing that she herself couldn't see what a positive contribution she had on the world. But as my mom neared the end of her life, my family was inundated with an overwhelming outpouring of love and support. It is so clear to me that all of this love is truly a testament to the profound impact my mom had on the world around her. We have received so many beautiful messages from people telling us how much she has affected people's lives, inspired them, and how her loss has touched the hearts of so many. I feel assured now that after this bitter struggle, her soul is now free. I imagine her being in heaven, in a loving embrace with my dad, my brother, her father, and her mother. I imagine them telling each other how much they've missed each other and what a relief and joy it is to all be finally reunited. I imagine my mom being so at peace that everything she suffered in this mortal life will all just wash away like a bad dream. All that remains now for me is to continue onwards with her altruistic legacy, to pay it forward like she did and to inspire others the way she inspired me. Mom, if you can hear me now, I want you to know that I love you so much. Lung and I couldn't be more proud and thankful to have had you as our mother. I will miss you for the rest of my life until one day I too will pass and we can all be reunited.
Thank you all for that incredibly precious stepping through of the things that meant the most to Suk Ming and to you about her. Thank you for the vulnerability of sharing your hearts, not just your words. We are the richer for having heard her story today. We thank you. You all have your own memories, of course, of the time that you've spent with Suk Ming. We're going to reflect a little more on her life, this time through photos. Sit, pause, reflect, watch and listen, and remember this remarkable woman in your own way. Let's watch now.
time you are near, just like me, they long to be close to you. Why do stars fall down from the sky every time you walk by? Just like me, they long to be close to you. On the day that you were born, the angels got together and decided to create a dream come true. So they sprinkled moon dust in your hair and golden starlight in your eyes of blue. That is why all the girls in town follow you all around. Just like me, they long to be close to you. On the day that you were born, the angels got together and decided to create a dream come true. So they sprinkled moon dust in your hair, a golden starlight in your eyes of blue. That is why all the girls in town follow you all around. Just like me, they long to be close to you. Just like me, they long to be close to you.
What precious memories they conjure up. Images that make you smile, reflections that draw a tear, but how precious to have those in your keeping. Those are the memories that death can never take away. We've shared a lot about Suk Ming today, and the memories will continue as you reminisce and reflect on the time that you've spent with her and the impact she's had in your life. However, we do now come to the point where we're saying our final goodbyes to her. To say goodbye to someone you love at any time is such a hard thing to do. But to be farewelling Suk Ming at just 67 years of age feels so wrong. And whilst we can rationalise and say with our heads that she is freed from any further suffering, in our hearts we know there is a gap and a hole and a hurt that she won't be around in your day-to-day life. It is such a loss. But through all of that, as we've heard today, we focus on the incredible legacy that she has left, that of determination, altruism, resilience, care and compassion. Let's take her values with us. Let them shine on through us as we leave here today. Her memory will live on forever. Suk Ming had a strong spiritual values and beliefs that guided her right throughout her life. I'd like to share a few verses from Ecclesiastes chapter 3. To everything there is a season, a time and a purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant, a time to uproot that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance, a time to gain and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to love, a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. Suk Ming, you've lived 67 years on this earth, and today we've honoured the legacy and the spirit of all that you have meant to us. But sadly, we also gather to say our farewells. You've lived not only a good life, but a great life. And you have been a giver to so many, wanting only the best for those you loved. You have used your talents and skills for the betterment of society, and you have certainly left the world better for you having been in it. Suk Ming, you can be so proud of your boys and all that you've done to support them into becoming the fine young men they are today. You'll be remembered fondly, and you will be remembered often. You have lived with courage and with commitment and with love. Suk Ming, your battle here on earth is now done. We bid you farewell as you are laid to rest. Keep with you the love of your family and your friends as you reunite with those gone before you. From earth we've come, to earth we return. Fly free and rest in peace. And to you all, I hope you feel our gathering today has been a fitting farewell, and that it brings you some comfort as you adjust to your loss. Go gently, one and all, with your grief. To those closest to Suk Ming, you hear, to Carl, those who are watching in, we thank you, and we hope you find comfort in the love and support around you. You have supported her every step of the way, as she has indeed done for you throughout your life. Once again, on behalf of the family, I thank you most sincerely for your attendance and for watching in and being with us today. Before we play our final music, I'd like to thank you, of course, for watching in. Could I ask a favour, and that is that you let the family know of your presence. Ordinarily, of course, you'd be here. You'd be signing a memorial book, and it would be their keepsake of your presence. But they won't know of some of you beaming in unless you let them know. So in your time, reach out, let them know that you've been here with them. It would mean the world. Before we play another one of the golden oldies that Suk Ming loved so much, we're going to finish with these beautiful words written by her beloved grandson Dylan, which his dad will read on Dylan's behalf. And then we'll say our farewells. Do you want to come and stay with Dad? You don't have to.
Dylan wrote this poem for his grandma a few weeks ago, knowing she was very ill and wanting to cheer her up. He chose to write about the rain, as he felt it could be seen in two ways. When it rains heavily, it can be sometimes scary, but sometimes it can also be very calming. I wanted to share it with you as it seems to so concisely and beautifully capture the journey we have been through and the time of reflection that we now find ourselves. The poem is titled, "The Wind is Blowing" by Dylan Ong. The wind is blowing faster and faster. Whoosh goes the wind. Whoosh goes the wind again. A storm rolls by. Crickle crackle goes the storm. Crickle crackle goes the storm again. The rain stops. The sun comes up. The birds begin to chatter. Twitter goes the birds. Twitter goes the birds again. Now it is peaceful and calm.
We'll stand as we say our final farewells. Blessings to you, Suk Ming. Farewell.
Not a sound from the pavement. Has the moon lost her memory? She is smiling alone. In the lamplight, the withered leaves collect at my feet, and the wind begins to mourn memory. All alone in the moonlight, I can dream of the old days. Life was beautiful then. I remember the time I knew what happiness was. Let the memory live again. Every street lamp seems to beat a fatalistic warning. Someone mutters and the street lamp sputters, and soon it will be daylight. I must wait for the sunrise. I must think of a new life, and I mustn't give in. When the dawn comes, tonight will be a memory too, and a new day will begin. Burned out ends of smoky days, the stale cold smell of morning. A street lamp dies, another night is over, another day is dawning. Touch me, it's so easy to leave me, all alone with the memory of my days in the sun. If you touch me, you'll understand what happiness is. Look, a new day has begun. So I smile and say, I see trees that are green, red roses too. I watch them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a